So yeah, so I'm happy to be here to share some ideas about pen testing and how to better the skills and improve capabilities as a pen tester. I'm Subin. I work as a senior product security engineer at Salesforce. I played several roles in the cybersecurity industry for last 10 to 12 years. I've worked as a builder, which involves secure application development, or security engineering, which is developing tools um, um, for the developers or the organization itself. I've been a breaker, a pen tester, and been in red teaming roles for most of my career. I've also played some of the defender roles as a cyber response engineer and also in application security. So I hold several certifications like CEH and some of the SANS GX certifications, which are GPEN, GWAP, GMOB, and GXPEN, which I had acquired through my career. So how I got here, my journey, I started my career as an application developer. I was very fascinated to see security folks finding issues in my code, and that's when I decided this is what I want to do. And this was several years back, and I decided to do certified ethical hacker as a first step for that. So I attended the course and then did the certification, and I built a lot on top of that. I read a lot, tried to gain a lot of knowledge. It definitely takes a lot of time and patience before I landed my first job. But thanks to CH, I was able to show some of those skills and capabilities, and I was able to transition from a developer to a pen tester. So that was a huge breakthrough in my career. And so after that, I moved into consulting, and I was traveling all over the country doing pen testing for different organizations. It was very interesting because every week or every month you would see new applications, new challenges, new systems. I learned a lot during my consulting career. Made a lot of friends and a lot of networking. And I currently work as a pen tester and application security. The reason application security I came into application security was there was a huge need in the industry to shift left, meaning when we typically do pen testing, we generally do it towards the end of the development life cycle before it gets deployed to production, which is definitely too late, because if there are some major issues which would need to rewrite the whole architecture, it would be very expensive. So there was a major change in the industry to shift left, and at that point, mostly it was the same team that did both pen testing and then AppSec. And coming from a development background, it was very easy for me to move into AppSec, and also having being a pen tester for several years and knowing how things are broken and how things can be broken. It was definitely very easy to move into defense and help how to defend the application. Yep. So what is ethical hacking? I know there's been a lot of terms out there, ethical hacking, pen testing. So ethical hacking is typically a broader term used to describe security testing as a whole, security testing of anything and everything, right? So pen testing refers to a small subset of testing, which commonly is in the technology area. It could be the scope could be as small as a single website, or multiple servers, or a whole application infrastructure, right? But it's typically a smaller scope within a technology area with finite scope and objective of finding vulnerabilities within that system with the hope of improving security within the system. Red teaming is a slightly larger subset than pen testing. It touches several areas of technology, people, and processes with different objectives and different scope. So though the objectives are also to find vulnerabilities and improve the resilience of the organization. One of the major objectives there is to also also test how good the defense is, also test the response of people, or meaning evaluate how the blue team or the cyber defense team is defending the attacks. So a lot of important metrics like time to attack, time to defend, time to detect, and time to prevent are all goes into that testing. Yep. So let's look at where the pen testing industry has been going. The markets research has estimated that the by 2020 it would be a $1.7 billion industry, and it's estimated to be a $4.5 billion industry by 2025. So that's 21.8% growth. So there has been several other researches in this area as well. For example, Future Markets Insight estimates that the pen testing industry has grown 13.9% from 2017. And there are several other researchers out there which all indicate that this industry is definitely growing. Right? There is a lot of demand for new skills, and it is estimated that there would every time we need 50 to 20% more pen testers to keep up with the current need with the right skills and the mindset. So, what is pen testing and what it generally entails, right? So it's not all fun and easy all the time. It's a lot of work. Sometimes it feels like banging your head on the wall to find an issue. Sometimes it takes several days to find some issue, only to realize that there was an easy break-in. And it feels like you've been trying to break a lock for several days and to get inside a room, and only to figure out that the key was left and key was there under the mat. So there has been scenarios like that. So it's a whole emotional roller coaster. And sometimes it's hard to keep your self-esteem up. You have to keep telling yourself that you're doing good and to continue the good work. But it's definitely rewarding. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's definitely fun, and it's a lot rewarding. It's very intellectually rewarding and mentally rewarding when you find issues. But it definitely involves a lot of work and effort to get to that state. So developing a hacker mindset is important. It's important to think like an attacker and think of how you could abuse systems. I don't know how to explain that scenario, but one example could be when we were expecting our first baby, and we used to go to the OB appointments regularly. So my wife would constantly be talking to me about things, and I would be staring at some of the ports or wires on the wall, thinking, what could I plug into that? What would that be? How could I abuse that? And I would get into trouble because I was obviously not listening to what she was saying. So that's a mindset. So you kind of develop that behavior, I guess, being in the industry for some time. One other important thing to notice is about permission, even if it is within your organization or you're doing it for a friend. Always make sure that you have a written permission to do it. I mean, if you don't have, you're not just betting your earnings or savings or your car or your house, you could get into a lot of legal trouble and may even have to go to jail. So it's a serious thing. So So always make sure you have the right permissions to do what you're doing in pen testing. And most pen testing always have a strict defined scope. Um, Scope is much more relaxed in red teaming, but pen testings are more strict scope. Like you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that. So always try to be in scope. You don't want to be in scenarios where you're scanning a website and because of some links present on that website, you end up scanning another third-party website which you're not supposed to scan or which you're not supposed to test, which again gets into legal ramifications and problems, right? And writing is an important skill. Always write awesome reports for the audience so that they are able to understand. There may be times where you need to be more technical. There may be times where you need to be more of high level for the managers and executives. But a report describes what you have done, how much value you have, you're providing. So definitely do a good report. So these are some of my from my experience how what I think would help you excel as a pen tester. So don't just scan some sites with Nexus or Nexpose and then throw out the report as a finding. That's just vulnerability analysis. That's not pen testing. Pen testing means you go and validate those, make sure it's exploitable, and give a realistic rating on based on what the impact is, how easy it is to exploit it, and what are the mitigating controls involved. So if you don't exploit it, you don't know what it took you to exploit it. So you won't be able to give a realistic rating for it, and you wouldn't be providing any value. So definitely don't just run scans or some tools and throw out a report. Always provide value. Always go beyond. Um, Always try to go beyond and give more value because that's what the people are paying you for. One important thing to develop skills is to build a home lab and practice. It helps you build a lot of command line experience, learning some new things that you read online, go back and practice it, and that's how you develop skill. There must be a new vulnerability, a new zero-day that came out. There would be POCs, exploits available. Always go back, practice it in your lab, and then that's how you develop the command line skills and familiarity with just testing. So when you're in a real scenario where you're testing, you know exactly what to do because it will naturally come to you. So be an avid reader and researcher, always experiment. Don't just assume something because you heard somewhere. You can always go back and experiment something. That's how you build confidence and depth of your knowledge. So reading is very important. Please make sure you at least read one technical blog every day or follow certain people who talk about security or pen testing as a whole. And that's how I learned. That really helped me a lot. Do CTFs, of course. That definitely improves your skills. You can download a lot of VMs or even have online CTFs that you can play. There are several holiday hack challenges out there. There are some places where you can win money or prizes. So yeah, definitely when you have time, definitely do CTF. That's a good way to build the skills. And you may not be able to get everything or finish everything, but every time all CTFs pretty much submit the answers to, so you can go back and figure out how it is to be done and then learn from it. So as you do more CTFs, it will naturally come to you and it'll just work out. And give back to the community. That's an important thing. That's how you build your name and brand in the community. Maybe write blogs or post some findings that you have come across or that you might have come across your home lab when you were searching. Make new friends, go to conferences, talk to people. I know I used to be very shy when I was early in my career, and it took a lot of effort to come out of that and talk to people and make friends. But it's very important to build networking. That's how you learn. Talk to people about what you've been doing and maybe ask them what they're doing, and you'll always learn new things and new stuff from them, which you can, of course, go back and practice on. So if pen testing or red teaming is not right for you, there are several other jobs that come from the NICE frameworks. Um, you could be a network engineer or a SOC analyst, or you could move into compliance or even be an auditor. But there are several jobs out there. So don't limit yourself by thinking that pen testing is very overwhelming or ethical hacking is overwhelming, and that may not be right for you. But if you get into ethical hacking, it opens a lot more doors. So always keep that in mind. Right, so you just search by jobs in LinkedIn, you see the amount of jobs that come out for different levels of experience. So that should definitely give you an idea of what is where the industry is going and how much demand um, is there. But yeah, definitely um, there are a lot of opportunities. So these are some of the jobs that you could and you would be eligible for with certain levels of experience. As you build more years of experience, it goes on to more senior roles and architect level roles, and from there it goes up to managers um, and then senior managers and vice presidents. So it's a whole career. So it's so rather than thinking of it as a job or a hobby, the way I like to think of cybersecurity career is it's a way of life. It's a mindset. So it definitely takes you different places, and it's definitely very mentally and intellectually rewarding. So so we wanted to spend some time to talk about application security because sorry, there's been a lot of um, focus on this recently. So application security is basically shifting left. And as I mentioned earlier during the pen testing, we typically do pen testing in the testing phase when everything is ready, packaged, and before it goes live, where it might be too late, and finding a security issue at that point may be very expensive. Right. So application security is about building security or pushing security to the left, where you build security right from the requirements, design, and development. So it involves working closely with the developer, going to their Scrum grooming sessions, doing the threat modeling, reviewing their wireframes, and providing security guidance right from there. So you could potentially find any security problems there and help them fix it earlier before it gets too late. So threat modeling is an important concept there. So threat modeling involves basically, if you read about Adam's show stack, he easily simplifies it into 4 different questions that you ask. So it's basically what are we doing, what can go wrong, what are we going to do about it, and then are we doing a good job. So basically what that means is um, uh, it's where you sit down with the developers and try to understand what is going on. That's where you look at their wireframes or data flow diagrams, and then sit and brainstorm and think about what can go wrong, what are the different issues that can happen with this, and then you talk about what mitigations can we do for each of those problems. And then you would do a retrospective on if that is enough, or should you go back and to improve the risk, or go any deeper, right? So that definitely helps find a lot of issues early in the phase. Part of AppSec is also managing a lot of tools. There could be a lot of static analysis, dynamic analysis tools, open source analysis tools, which looks at vulnerabilities that third-party libraries used in the code. Yep. So that's what this is what I was talking about earlier, where the cost of fixing issues, how it increases towards the later phase of the application development cycle. So it's definitely a lot easier and better to find issues as early as possible, rather than finding it later. So basically, capture security requirements. So basically, that helps you prioritize what is needed for a project to go live. So it involves reviewing application designs from a security perspective. That's what I was talking about, doing threat modeling during the design phase. It involves enforcing secure coding practices, providing guidance to developers to follow them, and then basically helping them. We work closely with them to help them, because don't get me wrong, developers are very busy already trying to finish certain code within a deadline, and if you go talk to them about doing certain security things which are very vague, it's going to obviously frustrate them. So a part of AppSec is working very closely with them and helping them develop security. Everybody wants to do the right thing, but when you help them enable them to do it, it's a whole different thing, rather than just throwing some stuff at them and hoping they would pick it up. It involves performing SAST and DAST, and static analysis, dynamic analysis. There are a lot of tools which does that. And also reviewing application configurations and settings, deployment settings before the application is deployed, and also pen testing. Because when you do threat modeling, some of the risk assumptions you make, or the mitigations that you do, you can validate it using a pen testing. So in a lot of organizations, it's the same team which does application security and pen testing. Some organizations have two different teams, and red teaming would be, of course, a separate team. But in most organizations, AppSec team would define the security requirements during the earlier phases, and threat modeling, and then they translate the threat modeling into an attack tree and use that as a base to do pen testing for the scope of the project that's going on. So that's that's about it. So this is another area that that opens door from a cybersecurity career. Yep. So let me know if you have any questions.